Boing. Boing. What's his name?
So I guess me being married, I just don't have no rights. You're just gonna force me to testify.
You're a witness as any other witness in any case.
What did I witness? I didn't witness it. Which one am I? Am I a victim or am I a witness? Because first you said I was a victim. Now you say I'm a witness. Which one is it? Am I a victim? Am I a vulnerable victim? Why am I not being protected by ACP? Why haven't you investigated me a long time ago? This is the things that I know you didn't do, because when Demetrius was going through this case, for one, he never got out of jail under promoting or compelling prostitution. This man was forced out of jail. Why? I don't know. But at the end of the day, there's some funny things going on down there, and I smell it.
Well, Marion County is very full. The jail population is so large.
Mm-hmm.
They release a lot of people. I wish they didn't. I don't think your husband should be out of custody right now, frankly.
I know, because you don't like him. You think he's a pimp. You want him to be this.
Nothing against him. I'm just doing my job.
If you was doing your job, most district attorneys have no problem talking to a victim and actually hearing the person and hearing what they really say. Because for one, if this man did this horrible things to me, why would you guys let him back into population if he's this horrible, spiteful man that just sells drugs around kids and beat on women?
And they talk to these people all the time that we all think should stay in custody. They don't have enough room in Marion County Jail. That's the problem.
That's because you guys are arresting on innocent people. That's why.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, we're going to get nowhere then if we're going to continue that. So is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, you still didn't answer my question. What was the really reason why you really subpoenaed me? Because you knew I was married.
Right, and the marital you're not a lawyer. I am.
You're not a lawyer, you're a district attorney.
I know my job, I know how to do it, and because you're considered a victim by the state, by me, that you don't have the marital privilege. He doesn't get to claim the marital privilege when you're an actual victim of a crime.
I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. You made me a victim because you knew we was married. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I got a criminal defense lawyer right now that's been looking onto this case through Facebook, and he said this. He said, no matter what, he's not even supposed to subpoena you because, for one, you can't be a victim because they knew you was married. Regardless of the situation, we are legally married in Multnomah County prior to this. I don't have to testify because there's an Oregon Law Rule 505 since you are a lawyer. What about that rule? This is not a murder case. I don't have to testify. That's what you fail to realize. I know my law and I know the rights. I don't have to be a lawyer to know my rights.
Okay, well, that's not what Rule 505 says.
Yes, it does.
That's what it says in regards to exceptions to the marital privilege, is that when you're considered a victim in the case by the state, that he doesn't get to claim the privilege, nor do you.
Okay, let me ask you this. If I'm a victim and then you think if I'm a victim, why would a victim become charged? Because a victim never charged. Is never charged. Never charged. A victim is not charged. When a person commits a crime on a victim, the victim does not get charged for a person having a crime being committed on them. So what do you have to say about that?
Ms. Johnson, prostitution is very different.
You're not answering my question. If I am
charge every single prostitute just like you, and we also charge the pimps, and we convict everybody because they're all doing something wrong. The fact is that you are considered a victim partially, where he is still promoting you.
How is he still promoting me? We can't even see each other.
You can't do what you're doing.
He's not promoting me. So you can say that all you want,
Okay.
but he's not.
Okay. So you need to be in court.
I already know. Next Tuesday. I already know that.
Right.
But I still don't have nothing to say.
Okay.
Oops.
The first time when the officer basically blew her off and then came back to talk to her again. His testimony was that occurred on what day? Was it the day before?
That was May 15th, yes.
The day before.
The day before.
This is all wrong.
And then he recontacted her May 16th, and they set up that 1 o'clock in the afternoon meeting at the Shiloh Room.
Wow.
And so at
That
least
had
there
nothing
was
to do with me.
evidence
It was evidence.
that she was in Salem.
Yeah, that's it. That she was.
Yes.
The 15th.
Yes.
And she indicated as such in that ad that she had placed.
That she had placed, but they said earlier that it was from my black laptop.
Alright, thank you, Dr. Riley. Like I said, I don't know anything about Facebook. I don't know anything about who you love or who you don't love or what happened or what didn't happen. I don't know any of that. I'm looking at a man who's in front of me who, if things go well, could get probation, and if things don't go well, could be doing a lot of time. And so, when I look at that,
He is. He's not
Well,
a.
I don't think he was being proud of it when they questioned him. I think he was like, yeah, okay, I use P and stands for pimp, and people expect that of me, I guess. So I don't think he was like, yeah, I'm a pimp, I don't think he was doing it like that. I think he was just, when they said, hey, what does this P stand for on your phone, and he finally comes clean with what it means, and, so yeah, those are some of his own statements.
So what are they going to use all these text messages and that evidence in the jury to say that this is what he is? Because that's what it seems like to me.
All of that stuff coming in. All of his statements, all of your statements, all the evidence, the text messages. We have all of that.
Well, that's.
So, yeah, the detectives and everyone that did their investigation, they're going to be talking about what they found on the phones and laptops and all that stuff.
Well, the laptops were mine. I even have proof from Aaron's that I have right now to show that I'm the one that purchased it and it's my laptops. I went to go get 2 different laptops because I thought one was going to break on me, and it had a double battery, but I found that's when I had by the time I found that out that I could get my laptop fixed, I had already purchased another laptop. So I was like, oh, screw it, whatever. I just have 2 laptops. And and I had multiple phones. I had 2 phones, and if you've dealt with prostitutes, then you should know they have a lot of different numbers, a lot of different phones, a lot of different everything, and this is the thing I think is kind of odd. I didn't have any calls when I was down there in Salem. I had posted on Backpage, yes, I had text messages, but I didn't have no money on me. I myself didn't have any money because I just got down there. And when he seen my post the next day, which was that early Friday morning, and he still contacted me from the night before, trying to, oh, I'm sorry, my wife, that BS run down game that he gave, which I knew all tricks say. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And the thing that's kind of funny is that we had discussed money, but he is the one that said, oh, I'll give you extra, and I'll do this, and that's just like he was the one that was engaging it more than I was. I might have agreed, but there was no money, there was no transfer. They didn't find any money on me or in my purse or anything like that. I haven't hit any licks, so I'm not understanding how did he get $840 when there was no $840. I didn't have no calls prior.
Well,
I didn't have no.
Is what your husband had on him.
But that's his money with his own check. That's $1,290 of his own. So I'm not understanding why isn't his representative supposedly isn't entering evidence of him having an actual check from an actual civil lawyer named Merkel, which is our lawyer. He's the one that gave us our checks because we both had a check cut out. But
She might be. I don't know. They don't have to always share that with me. So a lot of their case, they don't have to share that with me. They have to tell me who their witnesses are going to be. They have to, before they offer an exhibit into evidence, they have to show it to me.
well, I know I'm not her witness because she hasn't contacted me not one time, and I've given her an affidavit, and she hasn't said nothing to me. So I don't know what's going on. That's why I'm like so lost because it's like.
And part of the reason that she may not want to call you or call you as even a witness in the case is that she knows that regardless of what you say in court under oath, if it differs a little bit, all the police officers will get to say exactly what they wrote down in their report of what you said. And so they're going to be testifying to that. And so she'll be like, well, I don't know that it's necessary that I call his wife. She knows that I'm calling you, so probably when and how that works is...
It's cross-examination. I know that.
And she'll cross-examine you, and we'll go back and forth until we're done, and then you'll be free to go.
And then I would have to leave and not be able to stay for the trial, right? Because I'm a witness victim.
Yeah, I mean, typically they call it excluding witnesses. So you're only supposed to be in there when you're testifying.
But
Even same with all the police officers. They don't get to be in there to listen to all the testimony. They only get to be in there when they're testifying.
So what kind of questions should I be prepared for? Because I've never been to trial. I've never had to take...
Like I said, it's just kind of like telling the story. I mean, we'll have to ask you sort of pointed questions. I'll have to, I can't lead you. So what I have to do is say, well, tell us what you were doing on this day. Did you end up texting someone that you later determined or knew was a detective? Yeah, what do you do? And you'll have to just tell people the truth about, I go on Backpage, I was soliciting this, I set up a meet with this guy at the hotel, and this is what happened. And so and I'll go through with you all the statements that I have in a police report that you made to the police. I'll ask you, did you say this? Do you remember saying this? And you just kind of answer truthfully, and if the answer is, I don't know, or I don't remember, that's fine, but you are under oath. You'll have to tell the truth about, if it is something that you said, just tell the truth and own up to it.
Right, but this is the thing. If I tell the truth, does it mean that they're not going to believe it? Because everybody always wants to seem that officers are always right. And the thing is that I could have said something, but they could have tried to make it seem like it was pointing towards my husband because they found him in the closet. But that wasn't the situation. I was trying to explain to the officers the differences between a real pimp and my husband. So that's what part I'm kind of stuck on because it's tricky. I know what I said in the police report. I see the police report. It's all over internet. It's everywhere. And that's the thing, like, I see certain things that they said. I never once told them that we had a signal because my husband is not with me 500 damn times. He is not, for one, he was locked up. Two, I don't tell him everything that I do. I know it might sound wrong, and I'm supposed to be his wife and the mother of his kids and all that, but, I'm a grown woman, and I'm going to do what the hell I want to do, period. I'm going to make sure I'm fine. I'm going to have my own decisions and do what I want. He can't stop me. And nobody can, unless I'm in jail. But even then, it's just, that's just how I am. I'm very self-sufficient. I'm very independent. I depend on myself because I feel like I can't trust and depend on others. So I feel like I do what's necessary. And it's not like I could get on the stand and actually just tell them the story and what happened and why I was there and what got to me and what made me go there and how did I get into this lifestyle, because to me it's like I feel like people are already going to judge, oh, she's a prostitute, she doesn't know how to get a job, or she doesn't this, or she's not educated, when in actuality that's totally the opposite. I'm a very smart student, I'm a 3.5 GPA student, I just got, like I said, I just been around the wrong kind of idiot, and the guy took the fact that I ran away from home because home was very not right. It was very broken. And this man forced me into this lifestyle, and I was trying to explain to Roger Smith, I know you're trying to interview me to use these information, try to use against me. I'm not stupid. I know how the law works. I know how police work. I know you guys can twist and turn things. I know people are going to think that your credibility is more than mine because they're going to look at my criminal background, and she's got an extensive history, criminal background of prostitution. I know how the game goes, like I said. But the same token, is it going to be able to be questions that I'm going to be able to explain, or is it going to be just yes or no questions?
No, you'll be able to explain certain things. Some things the judge might say is not relevant, so we have to only deal with relevant evidence, and that's a term by law. So
what does that mean?
Not relevant to the case against your husband. They might say, yeah, there might be a bunch of truth to a bunch of things, but it might not be relevant to this case. So that's going to be up to the judge. The defense attorney, she can ask you too. She'll like, so you said yes to that question. Can you please explain that? And you'll be able to explain it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I'm not trying to twist anything. I mean, I'm not going to try to trick you or anything. I'm just going to be going through the police report. I'm going to ask you what happened. I'm going to ask you if you made these statements. And it is what it is. And at the end of the day, a jury will decide whether he's guilty or not.
Right.
Now, if he decides to testify,
he's testifying?
Convictions for those felonies he went to prison on.
Well,
here's the thing. I don't know what Paul has decided about contact within your probation. Doug Hanson did not have the authority to authorize probation or not authorize it. If it wasn't a condition of probation, then it wasn't a condition of probation. But Paul Lively is the one that gets to decide contact. So unless you have permission from Paul Lively to have contact.
But it was from the court that we could be together.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that you're not telling me the reason you're in contact is because Doug Hanson said so, because that's not something that I can confirm, and he's not somebody that would have been able to allow contact. The court or the probation officer are allowed to do that. So if you have permission from the court, then you're saying that the court, that you have an order allowing contact.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
No, because what I'm saying is that how did Douglas Hanson make, it's just so confusing, because you still didn't answer my question. What was the real reason why you didn't subpoena me? Because you knew I was married. You're not a lawyer, you're a district attorney.
By my record, you've had a number of attorneys appointed by the court.
Yes.
Do you remember how many?
I have 4 of them and 2 substitutes.
You've had 4 attorneys and 2 substitutions by the court.
Yes, sir.
What about the other 2? This case is going to go to trial. We all know that. This case is going to go to motions. We all know that. So let's all share information so that all the information gets on the record, if that's appropriate. Okay?
As this court heard from Dr. Harbison, the metformin that Mr. Johnson was given did cause him nausea and perhaps some disorientation. Dr. Harbison testified that there were adverse effects to that prescription being given to Mr. Johnson when in fact he was not diabetic, and that prescription could interfere with his ability to cooperate and with his ability to make rational decisions. We would suggest to the court that his vomiting in mid-interview was indicia of exactly the kind of symptoms that Dr. Harbison is talking about, and we would ask the court to suppress both the statements that he made as not voluntary.
And this is true. This is true. So I can't give Gail Ryder the fact that she told the truth.
Under penalty of perjury, you swear or affirm the information you're about to give in this court and cause shall be the truth.
I do.
Have a seat. Thank you. Once you're seated, state your entire name, spelling your entire name out for the...
Yes, ma'am. My name is Detective Rogers Smith. My first name is Rogers. Last name is Smith.
So, tell us then about the dealings with Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson was, as I said, walked into the bathroom where Detective Hernandez spoke with him. I really had very little interaction with him. Saw him briefly a few times as we were conducting the investigation. I did most of my talking with Ms. Johnson. And then after that initial interview, I actually began to work on most of the paperwork and writing up the arrest documents and things like that.
Did you ever have any conversations with the defendant?
Very briefly, I believe. At one point, I think when I was talking with Detective Hernandez, at one point there was Mr. Johnson said he had money in his shorts. I think he was wearing like 2 pairs of shorts, and we had to go in and get the money from him with his consent to remove the money.
Did you remember that, or was it Officer Hernandez?
If I remember correctly, sir, give me just one moment. I believe that was that was and it was later found out to be $1,200.
$1,200 in cash?
Yes.
That was found on the defendant?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Correct.
Do you see that defendant here today?
Yes, sir.
Can you point him out, please?
He's sitting right there.
So 2 from my left at council table?
Yes, sir.
And were you aware then that did your investigation include, in addition to the prostitution situation, any drug activity?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I talked with Detective Hernandez at one point after he'd been speaking with Mr. Johnson and learned that he had looked through with Mr. Johnson's consent his cellular phone. During those, or in doing that, there were text messages that were consistent with him attempting to sell oxys or oxycodone.
Is oxycodone a controlled substance?
Yes, sir, it is.
It's an illegal substance without a prescription?
Correct.
Okay. Is it legal, if, let's say you actually have a prescription yourself for those pills, is it legal for you to then sell those to other people?
No.
And so let's tell us a little bit more then about the oxy and then the text messages.
The Detective Hernandez told me that there were text messages on his cell phone that were consistent with him reaching out to individuals saying that he had 50 oxys, 5 milligram oxys to sell, and was going to sell them for X amount of dollars. Which, when he told me that, I noticed in the room there was a bottle labeled or prescribed to Mr. Johnson of 5 milligram oxys, and there were 50 of them in the water.
So that physical description of what you found matched exactly with what the text message said about selling 50 of fill 5 milligrams.
Yes, sir.
And talk about, if you can, Detective, the individual, or could you determine who he was talking with in regards to trying to sell these drugs?
A gentleman by the name of Nick was the one that was most commonly, the most common messages that were sent. May I refer back to?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And while you're doing that, Detective, looking to find some of that, you did a whole scan and extraction of the cell phones, correct, to help you determine everything that's going back and forth between these people that were on the phones?
Yes, sir. On Mr. Johnson's phone, so the text messages in reference just to the oxycodone portion of it dated back to the 5th of May mostly to a gentleman by the name of Nick. Several messages to Nick back and forth. At one point, Mr. Johnson sent this Nick a text saying that his sister needs bill money, and that she would have to sell them all for $250. All 50 of them for $250. And the other gentleman was kind of haggling about the price, and that was the last messages were up to the 6th of May until the evening of May 15th, where a message was sent from Mr. Johnson's phone to Nick at about 7:44 p.m. Asking if he wants to buy some oxys, 5 mg, 50 of them for $200, which is actually a fairly good deal, since they're typically a dollar per gram. 50 of them is usually $250, but if you 50 off, you could potentially make profit if you were going to sell them yourself. And so he sent that message to this Nick on the evening of May 15th. And that was the last message regarding the oxys.
Change your pull up. Change it before it busts. We go through this every time.
Detective, I want to go back a little bit to text messages that were sent between Miss Johnson and the defendants in regards to the prostitution aspect of it. Does she go by the nickname of, or on the phone, Queen Moneymaker?
Yes, sir.
And were there verified messages sent between she and the defendant in regards to the meetup with you? I think one of them said, I hit a lick for $100.
Yes, sir. There was really the message specifically in regards to me. There were literally thousands of messages. And when I wrote my report from that analysis, I took small snippets. I would still be typing if I was trying to get them all. A sample of these are from Queen Moneymaker.
So he made
listed there as
a list,
which I
and he put text messages together,
May 15th and May 16th.
which made sense to him trying to make me be my wife's pimp, and it's illegal.
Things such as I hit a lick for $100. A lick is a more common slang term for a robbery victim, but in this sense, it would appear that they're kind of using it for their own as like a John or a client in this sense.
I'm a copy of you. So I got my toy. Mom, do you love guys? He's so sweet. He said, he talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why did we say stuff like that?
That's how they take baths.
Damn it, I forgot the laundry. I gotta switch the laundry.
Did you receive information then from talking with Miss Johnson then, looking through her cell phone, and seeing the messages she sent to the defendant? Did you then question her about the defendant's knowledge of what she was doing in his room?
I did.
And what did she say?
She was very vague on a lot of those comments, but she would eventually kind of open up that he is there as a protection. They had a prearranged code signal or code word, such as when a client would get too rough with her, she would say no 3 times, and that was Mr. Johnson's.
This is far from the truth.
He was hiding via closet.
Why would any man wait to hear no 3
Ms. Johnson
times
denied that there was anything physical
to help his
that happened
wife?
between Mr.
This is
Johnson
just slander from this officer right here. He never ever talked to me. Roger Drake Smith. You hear he stuttered on his own name. She said, state your whole exact name. And he only gave you Roger Smith. His real name is Roger Drake Smith, for the record.
He's never had to hurt anyone.
I never had to hurt no one. Listen to this, man. Listen to this slander. They got somebody else's background on me. And I ain't do nothing wrong.
He drives her to local stores to buy debit cards, the prepaid debit cards, because they don't want to keep their cash on hand, and then they'll retain all their money.
If that's the case, then how did he use the $1,200 that he found in my pockets? How? If we put it on our debit cards, they never seized our debit cards. They only took my money. They robbed me of my money, which came from my lawsuit.
For that, how did you describe that?
Why do he always got to go back into his notes? He should have been ready for this.
The money was shared.
The money was shared. How?
She doesn't, quote unquote, pay her husband, but the money that they earn is shared.
She don't pay me.
According to her.
These people slander me so hard, I don't even know what to do. There was no fighting my side of the court because Gil Ryder felt like I was a pimp anyway.
There for protection, intimidation, and also get some of the proceeds.
How, when I was extremely sick at the time, there was no way I could have helped my wife.
She had no
way.
She had no cash on hand. The only cash that we found was Mr. Johnson's cash.
Is it of significance that you found $1,200 on the defendant?
Actually, it was $1,290 according to the police
She told me
report.
the night before she had met with
They show talk about the $1,200, but they forget I had $1,290. So my question is, where is the $1,290? Where is the 90?
Per person, that'd be about $800. She said she met with at least 2 people. So
technically, Officer Roger Smith offered Mrs. Johnson 50 extra for not being there on time. So this is a lie what he explained.
And that was all the possession of this defendant, not Miss Johnson.
This is complete.
What's your name? Please state your entire name and spell your entire name.
My name is Eric Hernandez, and Eric Hernandez is spelled ERICKHERNANDEZ.
Okay.
us then, did you assist in the investigation that took place on May 16th of 2014 involving Matthew Mayfield Johnson Jr.?
I did.
Tell us about your role, please.
My role was basically basically to assist detectives, primary detective working in a case. My involvement really didn't begin until the actual execution of the operation, where Detective Smith engaged in or set up basically what we would consider a sting, in which he made contact with a Jessica Johnson, basically in answer to a Backpage ad, an internet website advertisement, and so that initial contact, I should say, basically occurred at the Shiloh and Switzerland.
They stutter a whole lot.
And so, tell us, Detective, then, were you one of the officers that had entered that hotel room that day?
I was.
And
Yes, he was.
Your contact with the defendant.
So initially, Detective Smith approached the front door of the room, and after knocking, the door was answered by Miss Johnson. And if I remember correctly, she was wearing a pink.
If he remembered correctly, he know.
Anyway, that was about it. There wasn't really much that she was wearing at that point.
So why frisk her down in front of her husband? Why touch and grope my wife?
And we made entry into the room. After Detective Smith contacted Miss Johnson,
they the ones that committed the crime.
The remaining rooms that were in there, which was basically a bathroom and then a small closet.
The closet wasn't small at all.
In the closet, he immediately yelled, "Show me your hands! Show me your hands!" And that was obviously a clear indication to me that there was somebody else in the room. Detective Didi drew his gun, and as did I. And
right here in my face.
Our point of fire to the closet, and Detective Didi ended up giving commands for Mr. Johnson to step out of the closet.
What would a black man do
after that
when the police is already killing all of us? What?
And do you see the defendant here today?
I do.
Of course they see him. I'm not the perpetrator, they are.
Can you tell us, Detective, you said you drew your weapon, so you had your weapon on you.
I did.
Were you in plain clothes or in uniform?
At that point, I was in plain clothes, but I was wearing a ballistic vest underneath, and I did have my badge. Generally, when we do these types of investigations, we approach the location in plain clothes with nothing visible, but as soon as we get to the point where we are actually going to identify ourselves as police, we'll make our badge visible either by neck chain or just on our belt.
So was it visible on this particular occasion when you were in contact with the defendant?
I believe it was.
And in telling the defendant, getting him down at gunpoint and handcuffing him, you said that you told him he was under arrest.
Correct.
And you signified you were a police officer.
I did.
And what did you do next with the defendant?
At that point, I separated him from Miss Johnson. I actually escorted him into the bathroom, which was just to the right of the entry door. So a small bathroom just in the room.
How long were you guys there, and what did you do?
At that point, I advised him of his Miranda rights first thing. And after doing that, I'd say I probably spent minimum half an hour with him.
You read me my Miranda rights.
I advised him of his Miranda rights.
You're lying.
And basically began an interview with him.
Did he
out of fear you put me in handcuffs?
He understood his Miranda rights.
Your mind wasn't on Miranda rights, Hernandez. Because out of fear you put me being in the closet, you was focused on what kind of criminal I was, right?
Basically one of the first things we do when we come in contact with someone, and since he was in handcuffs and he was hiding in a closet.
I wasn't hiding. I put my hands out when they knocked on the door and arrested my wife. I was already revealed.
And he was going to be cooperative. And since the Miranda begins so early in the contact, he did not sign the Miranda card itself.
No, I did not.
He wasn't able to with his hands.
No, it's because I wasn't aware of a Miranda.
What handy was the Miranda? Can you identify that for us, please? I do have some scissors here, and I'll ask you to actually open that up and you can pull out the contents as well. Sure.
This man is really ill, man. He's sick for trying to cover
the Miranda card
for
read to
Smith.
And he
Watch how he testified to his own lies.
And there was no signature on that second letter. It doesn't indicate.
And is that typical that
He
you
wrote handcuffed because he didn't have my signature. That's lies. They don't got no place doing that to me.
He did.
No, I didn't. I was too sick, throwing up, ill.
And after reading Miranda rights, you had questioned him and talked to him about a lot of the investigation, correct?
I did.
At any time during that conversation, did the defendant complain of pain or discomfort or anything like that?
Yes.
No, actually, contrary to that, I remember asking him a series of questions, and I remember him actually.
All this in 30 minutes.
And distinctly remember him actually laughing at some of my questions.
Why would I laugh?
To how I was asking them. The only thing I do remember him asking, or basically complaining about, was thirst. He said it was thirsty at one point, which I provided him.
Which is a symptom of the metformin pill that I was taking. That's one of the symptoms that I was needing water or something.
Discomfort and pain specifically. Now, at one point during the interview, and it was very spontaneous and random. Having to act quickly so that I could allow him to do so. He was seated on the toilet in the bathroom, and just at one point, kind of randomly said, "I think I'm gonna throw up." And so
I never said I think I'm gonna throw up. I just threw up because I couldn't hold it no more. I just threw up and they all rushed the bathroom. That's the
truth. Did he ever
truth.
tell you that he was on medication? That was,
Yes, I did, because it all was on the counter. Don't you remember I had a medicine black bag, a black medicine bag? It had all my medicine.
He was in, not talking about medicine particularly, but just saying, I'm really not feeling right, I'm not understanding you, or I really can't communicate very well with you.
After he vomited, he told me that he had, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what the condition was, but after he vomited, he told me that he had a specific condition and that this was common for him to vomit and not to be able to keep food down.
I don't have no condition. I don't randomly throw up. I was taking a metformin pill that had me throwing up, and I had no control of it because I thought that my doctor said I was a diabetic, and it was wrong.
So let's go through then. After you had read
Look at this slander. This has hurt my heart every time I listen to it. But I gotta be strong enough for God to do God's work.
I did.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Initially, I asked him what he and Miss Johnson were doing there at the location, and he indicated to me that they were on their honeymoon.
Now, why would I say I'm on my honeymoon when I know exactly the difference between a honeymoon and a rendezvous?
Being there.
That's like saying I'm stupid. I don't know when I married my wife.
Initially told me that he didn't really know what I meant by what his role was. I asked him, after, like you said, basically explaining the investigation and why we were there, I asked him to tell me how he might be involved in Miss Johnson's prostitution activity. He kind of laughed at my questioning, and I remember specifically saying, I see what you're doing. You're trying to get me to say I'm doing something.
And I wanted to see a lawyer immediately.
Basically told him
he left that part out.
Be honest about what was going on at that point.
He still forced the interview.
Exactly he was hiding in the closet. His response to me at that point was, quote, all right, I'm going to be straight with you. We hope to.
So why do I got promoted prostitution if I told him that I hold with her? It doesn't make sense. They lying. But I got promoted prostitution.
But he replied, and I quote, I mean, I suck and I fuck with her.
See how he reading off his notes?
If he was
stuttering still
engaged in sexual activity with Miss Johnson in exchange for money or other types of payments, and he said, yeah.
Did you talk to him about, other than just the two of them in this agreement, were there others involved, and what his role was?
Yes, so basically the way he explained how some of these arrangements would work, he said that if somebody wanted to engage in sexual activity.
Why they keep saying I guess?
He would be
These
a part
people
of that
is
deal. They would
weird.
not know that he was a part of that deal until they actually reached the location. he and I asked him if he meant to tell me that if someone agreed upon those sexual services, that he just included him in the
This is
service
him
without telling him prior. I
testifying
said,
on
yes.
the fact that I'm a supposed prostitute. Nothing
And,
to do with promoting it.
I,
You get what I'm
he
saying?
again reiterated that
It's
he
like,
did not, or that
they don't
person
know
coming to
what
meet with Miss Johnson never actually
they
did
talking
that
about,
until
but
they
they charged me with promoting prostitution and
never knew that
delivery
he
of
was
an
going to be part of
oxycodone,
that.
and I never
Actually
did
got
either
there.
one.
And he said when they show up is when he explains. And I asked him how that usually goes over with the person that shows up expecting to meet with a young lady and then realizing that he was there as well. He said, we are all consenting adults and it's just casual fun. That was his explanation and reasoning behind that. I asked him if anyone actually agreed to this once arriving at the location and knowing that Mr. Johnson was going to include himself in the activities. He said yes, and if they don't feel like they are going to include themselves, that they would just sometimes watch. That would be part of the agreement at that point.
Boo! That's a lie. That's a lie. I told him that me and my wife had contracts.
As far as the agreements, and for some reason he said that they didn't want
doing
to
webcam.
Include themselves, that they would just.
I told him that me and my wife does webcam. That's exactly what I told him. And you can find that information located on Kerry Wyland's notes.
Notice that there was a phone that the defendant had at this time.
Watch this. Watch this.
Yeah,
this is where they stories mix up at.
If I remember correctly, he had it in the pocket.
Oh, but Roger Smith said he picked it up off the floor.
I did.
He said it was in my
I asked him
pocket.
if I could look through his cell phone, and his response was, "Go ahead, you can look through whatever you want." So at that point, I read Mr. Johnson, the department issued.
Again? Come on, you gonna read it to me again and I not sign it?
Allowing us, or asking for his consent to search.
This is
And if I may,
illegal. This is
clarify
fruit
too, this is
of the
actually the
poisonous
second
tree.
that I had
This
read
is a
this
federal law that they are breaking
prior to
right here and right now.
initiating my entire interview. with
Watch how he testified to how he just
preparing to
quickly
search
forget
the since the
that he need my signature.
Miss Johnson,
And this room was never shared between me and my wife. It was in my wife's
They
name.
agreed to allow us to search the room and the possessions that were there. So this was actually the second time that I had read the consent search card to him. So he agreed to the consent search. I actually, at this point, removed him from handcuffs.
Wow, what do you know?
And why now at this juncture?
Yeah, why now? Why?
For the phone,
And look at the
initially
poor
at the
lame
first
excuse they
time.
give.
I had spent significant time with him talking about
Seeing how sick I was and how hard I was rocking and how fast my heart was beating. That's what you was witnessing.
offensive.
Tell the truth, Roger Smith. I mean, Hernandez. Tell the truth.
Not necessarily to be a threat, so I felt safe at that point for my safety.
Both of y'all lied.
To allow him to say it.
So that at that juncture, your office
Liars.
you did have him sign that as
I
well? Is that part of Exhibit 1 that I handed you?
Yes, it is.
And can you describe for us then on that card, did he sign that and did you sign that?
I did. So he signed it. Well, you can see it on the first line where his signature would be. The initial portion of it says yes.
How did
which I
this
wrote,
judge
and that was
let
the
them get
first time I
away
read
with
the
so
consent
much
card.
wrong?
And then right next to it,
Was
is
she
his
really
signature.
in cahoots with the whole plan and
My
plot?
name is listed at the bottom.
Maybe it was because they knew I could
Your
sue
Honor,
them
this
for
time I would offer State's Exhibit 1.
what they done to me. They made me do 22 days with no PO.
Yes, please. Yeah,
22 days with no PO, no sanction. I did sick. I was stopped from being seen from my
I'm
doctors
sorry,
to
there's
see
a
what's
second one here
wrong
for
with
Miss
me.
Johnson.
They used my wife evidence that they charged her with against me in my criminal case. That's crazy. It just says room and car. Like I said, they only asked me to search my car. And I don't know how they wrote room on there because the room was never shared with me and my wife. My wife got that room on her own.
Defendant had signed. It says room and car here.
Correct. So that
Why wasn't this case dismissed then?
Of the consent to search.
How did that information get past a judge that studied her whole life?
But I did
Listen to this mess. This mess is just all over the place.
This top portion says
They can't take it back now.
you're allowed to search.
I need justice.
That's correct.
I need help from the public.
Right, the second time, yes. And that's when he signed.
So
You gotta listen to these deep thoughts of mine. Somebody out there gonna hear it.
Yes, quote, yes.
Listen to
That
this.
was for the cell phone.
Well, I wrote yes after the initial reading for the rooming card because he wasn't able to sign. And then during the second portion, when I read it the second time, that's when I wrote yes, and he was able to write or to sign the card himself. But I didn't write specifically cell phone or anything on any like free space. That's
Then it's no good.
Correct.
Why?
So detective, so that
Yes.
I'm sure I'm clear, you use the same card twice.
He used the same card twice
Yes,
for two
that's
different things.
No objection to State's Exhibit 1.
Cause she didn't want to help
Man,
me.
that should have been.
So she let it ride. She could have ate that up.
Man, I would have.
Man, I'm telling you, a real lawyer would have ate that moment up right there. That's unethical to do. You gave me an interview for approximately 30 minutes and you still chose to break the law. You broke the fruit of the poisonous tree.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Detective Johnson.
Not Detective
excuse me,
Johnson.
He called me Detective
you asked
Johnson.
Mr. Johnson then
You're right.
if he could provide you the passcode to actually access his phone.
Yes, I did.
This
I
is
noticed
a lie.
immediately when I
My
began
phone
using
was
the
in
phone that it was
passcode
password
protected.
So I asked him
This
if
is
he would
lies.
provide me that passcode so that I could actually review.
My mama can get
cell
into
phone.
my phone.
And he did. He verbally provided me the code 0550.
I don't even know what
Did you pass
that.
that in?
I don't know what
Did you
that
access his
code.
phone?
Yes, it did.
And again, you only knew that from the defendant telling you what it was, correct?
That's correct.
So were you able to then look at text messages on that phone?
I was. I reviewed several messages. One contact in particular reviewed messages from a contact listed as a moneymaker. After looking through the contact listing, I saw an associated photo with that contact, as many cell phones will allow you to do now, and I recognized the photo of the person to be Miss Johnson.
The same Miss Johnson that Detective Smith had made his arrangements with.
Yes, that's correct. During the text message conversations that I reviewed with Mr. Johnson and Miss Johnson, Miss Johnson made reference, several references to
Look at him stutter.
quote, a lick. And in my experience and training experience based on human trafficking and prostitution type investigations, I know that term is common for referring to a John or a male subject engaging in associated prostitution. So somebody that
Now this is him testifying to me being a pimp. But earlier he testified to me being a prostitute.
Was he listed as quote P, the letter P?
Where's this information?
I did read several text messages where he had actually referenced himself as P, just the letter P.
That could be punk, pussy, anything, but they called it pimp.
In these types of investigations,
This is
I know
wrong.
the letter
This
P
is
to be
real
short,
slander.
a way basically to commonly refer to someone's self as a pimp. And I specifically asked Mr. Johnson why he was referring to himself as P in his text messages.
What did he respond?
His reply was,
Who was I
"All right,
texting?
I'm going to be straight with you."
Again, I said that twice. I said that, all right, I'm going to be straight with you. See how it's all just written out like,
how exactly he
no,
portrays himself.
I don't even talk like that.
And he just said, like on Facebook and stuff, I just do it because that's what people expect.
Nobody expect that of me. Nobody.
In reviewing more of those text
Nobody, I
messages
repeat.
that were on the defendant's phone, did you come across any indications of drug activity?
I did. I came across another text message conversation where I found an outgoing text message where he told the recipient of that message that he had 50 oxy pills for sale for $200.
Yeah, right.
later, after talking to Detective Smith, I learned that there was actually a prescription bottle in the room.
Straight up lying.
50 oxy pills.
Based upon that contact with the defendant, then did you arrest him and charge him with the prostitution, compelling in your delivery of the oxycodone?
He said compelling.
This was all within.
Where's the children at? In the compelling.
And
You see that?
from Detective Smith, this was also in
Slander.
1,000 feet
Call
of
me a compelling.
elementary or vocational school in Marion.
That's correct.
Lies, man.
Lastly, Detective Hernandez, when you arrested him and took him in, did you end up taking him to the hospital?
I specifically did not transport him anywhere. Because of our location and kind of how our team sets up these operations, we're generally not able to conduct transports, so a patrol officer will respond to the location and conduct our transports for us.
Yeah. And is that because you're typically in plain clothes and unmarked vehicles?
Correct.
So you don't want him transported by an actual marked vehicle?
Why not?
In uniform.
Why not? Lies.
And again, anything unusual about the contact you had with the defendant, where he wasn't understanding you, or any of the questions or things you found?
No, at no point do I feel like he couldn't understand me. Or
Do you feel?
It was very clear that he understood what I was saying, and I understood him really well.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Nothing further. Let's see what nothing further gets me.
1 minute.
Wow. Straight slander. She like,
Faster than
the judge asked to look at the consigned consent cards. She should have threw the case out.
Hernandez, you have no idea where Mr. Johnson was.
None.
Or if it was Mr. Johnson that sent the text messages from his phone, do you?
No, obviously I did not watch the...
Right.
But
so
somehow
again, why am I charged this
And
way?
with regard, you know that he was in fact transported to the hospital on the way to the jail?
I was informed of this later.
Okay.
They knew because I was sick.
No, I didn't
Trust me.
That it's somewhat unusual for a person to be transported to the hospital before being taken to the jail, isn't it?
I think more so nowadays it's becoming much more usual because of not because of the person's condition, but because of the jail policies.
Yeah, right.
If there's any concern at all about a person's physical condition, they need to be checked at the hospital.
Correct. Yeah, it could be depending on use of force. Specifically, if we use a taser, that person
Which didn't happen.
Professional. Not that it's life-threatening or that their physical condition is that they're unable to do anything, or they may be just fine, but it's just because of that policy they are required to be evaluated first. So.
But in this case, when he was brought out of the closet, to use that turn of phrase, you wouldn't say it was
You hear the
excessive
laugh in the back?
Oh no, definitely not.
And in fact, although guns were drawn, I guess this is
Poor
always
black
wrong in
man
history,
scared
but
of the
nobody
police.
shot at him,
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
I
and
would have
nobody
hid
used their
too.
taser.
Correct.
Just like I did.
He did throw up when you were talking to him?
He did, yes.
Why would I just throw up for like 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, I specifically remember him saying that was a common thing for his condition.
What is the common thing? What is the condition?
I never ever said that because I didn't know I had a condition. I thought that I was a diabetic.
I think you may step down.
So I. Watch nothing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Listen to this fake. She's a fake, I repeat. Gail M. Ryder is a fake.
Sorry, I'm fighting apologies.
No, she wasn't. She just didn't want to help
You
me.
actually don't know, though. You don't have any information about who was operating or editing that back.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Could have been it.
So why would you blame me? Why would you say it's my computer, Officer Roger Smith?
Offering to sell the oxycodone on May 16th.
No, there wasn't. No. So how did I get charged?
Actual arrest of Mr. Johnson.
And why was my motions denied?
No, sir. Or, excuse me, ma'am. I didn't.
That's right, I get that a lot.
I apologize.
No problem. Okay. So you don't know where he was transported after he left the...
And I told him I was sick. They rushed the bathroom because I was throwing up. Was he? He knew I was sick because he took me in the elevator and I told him I was sick. This is ridiculous. Really ridiculous.
Are you the person who found the oxycodone?
Yes, he was. Look what he
I
said.
don't remember if I did find it. I can.
Why? You the leading detective, Roger Smith. You the leading detective, and you gotta look back into your notes. Didn't you write that you found it in Jessica's purse on your police report? How can you forget that so fast? This how I know they hate me, and this judge let them get away with looking at their notes. But I couldn't produce none of my evidence.
Thank you. You may step down.
Thank you. That laptop was identified as Mr. Johnson's. And when you're in the edit mode, whoever's doing that is the one that is actually placing the ad, that is typing it and doing what they want before it's placed onto the webpage. And that was
This is all I
correct. When I screenshot showed that the ad was being done.
People can't even fathom what I go through
So 5
in my
p.m. on the
everyday
15th.
life because of this.
That's the ad involving Jessica Johnson.
Yes, sir.
So at least there was evidence
And was evidence.
that she was insane.
Yeah, that's it. That she was.
Yes, the 15th.
Yes.
And she indicated as such in that ad that she had placed. So then tell us about how you when you first physically met Miss Johnson in the hotel room.
Walked up to room 319 and knocked on the door.
Room number 419, which is within Marion County. So then tell us about how you when you first physically met Miss Johnson in the hotel room.
Walked up to room 319 and knocked on the door.
Room number 419, which is within Marion County.
I believe there was also a cell phone that I didn't find it personally. From what I was told, it was found in his hand. I believe at the time he was taken into custody.
Officer Hernandez would have that information.
Yes, sir.
They don't carry Wyman's notes.
Notice that there was a phone that the defendant had at this time.
Watch this. Watch this.
Yeah,
this is where they stories mix up
was
at.
If I remember correctly, he had it in the pocket.
I believe there was also a cell phone that I didn't find it personally. From what I was told, it was found in his hand. I believe at the time he was taken into custody.
Officer Hernandez would have that information.
Yes, sir.
They don't carry Wyman's notes.
Notice that there was a phone that the defendant had at this time.
Watch this. Watch this.
Yeah,
this is where they stories mix up
was
at.
If I remember correctly, he had it in the pocket.
Okay, what's your social security number?
357069.
Your social security number? One moment. Yeah, this is coming up under your social security number or your name.
You knew I was married.
Right, and the marital you're not a lawyer. I am.
You're not a lawyer, you're a district
I know my
attorney.
job, I know how to do it. And because you're considered a victim by the state, by me, that you don't have the marital privilege. He doesn't get to claim the marital privilege when you're an actual victim of a crime.
I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. You made me a victim because you knew we was married. You wouldn't have been able to subpoena me.
Yeah, I can subpoena you lawfully, which is what I did.
The reason I elicited his wife's statements was the effect on a listener. She's not here for this motion. Didn't need her to be.
You wouldn't have been able to subpoena me.
Yeah, I can subpoena you lawfully, which is what I did.
You'd like to tell me?
I don't even know what to say about this. I've been fighting it for 14 months, and I stand here and tell you that, it's not true, but I'm at a position where I feel like I don't have help, so I have to do what's right for my kids. If I didn't have kids, I would see this through trial. But being that I'm a father and I love my kids and my wife, I would like to have an opportunity to show that I'm not the person that they made me out to be, the officers. I understand Mr. Hanson's job as a district attorney and also my lawyer, Gail Ryder's job as my private counsel. But at the same time, I was never given an actual chance to show evidence, and I further would like to appeal it.
And since the Miranda begins so early in the contact, he did not sign the Miranda. And since the Miranda begins so early in the contact, he did not sign the Miranda.
Given the amount of potential liability you have out there, whether or not that's something you should consider, okay? Like I said, I don't know anything about the case. I don't know anything about who you love or who you don't love or what happened or what didn't. I don't know any of that.
Hi, my name is Matthew Mayfield Johnson. It's June 13, 2016. I'm doing this documentary solely about the public defenders of Marion County. The first person that I'm going to be talking about is Gail Ryder, a public defender who is acting as private counsel in my case 14C42686. She screwed me over to help a corrupted district attorney by the name of Douglas Hanson, who has now retained himself a lawyer due to the write-up that I put in on him through the Oregon State Bar for violating my constitutional rights. I want to point out to you a small clipping about Gail Ryder's misconduct in trying to attempt to help Douglas Hanson cover up his hate crime. I'm going to press play, and then after that I'll pause it and show you the extreme evidence, or actually I might just be recording, showing the evidence while she's saying this crap.
All right. Ms. Ryder, I understand that there's been an agreement between the parties. Is there anything else that you'd like to comment?
At this time, Your Honor, we stipulate that if the state were to put on evidence without any evidence from the defense, that those are the facts that the state would be able to prove. No, Your Honor, this is, as Mr. Hanson has said, this resolution is the result of a number of different negotiated possibilities, and we are asking the court to impose the sentence as stipulated by the parties.
All right. Mr. Johnson, go ahead and stand up. I've heard a lot about this case through the motions. Is there any?
As you can see, Gail Ryder has made an attempt to cover Douglas Hanson when she knew that she forced me to take a mental psych evaluation with Dr. David Sweet. Again, I tell you, these people has been playing mental games with me for a very long time, and I've created a whole stream of evidence. Watch me as I uncover corruption on David Kuhn and Jessica Kemphy and Michael Lee Griffith. There's so many of them. Hey, Russ Morris, Matthew Johnson, do the name ring a bell to you at all, sir?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, I wanted to call and talk to you about some things. As you know, I don't know if you know, Douglas Hanson had resigned out of the Marion County DA's office. They had told me to call you guys to see why my case is closed out. I want to know what they mean by my case is no longer open with you guys.
As in the DIA?
Yeah, they keep telling me that what happened, sir, is I know you was only solely to investigate the officers, and like I keep telling you, they falsely imprison me and slander me, and when it come out, it's gonna leak back to Douglas Hanson. You know, I've never been after.
Mr. Johnson, the investigation has been completed, and the officers were exonerated. There's no merit to your complaint, sir.
Okay.
I investigated it. The officers had probable cause to arrest you,
and that was wrong.
And they did.
They illegally arrested me, and they robbed me for my money. And not only that, they put me on an illegal probation office, and now nobody wants to answer none of the questions.
Johnson, our conversation is over. If you have any further wish to discuss this, you need to call the Internal Affairs office. Okay?
Oh, or get an attorney?
That's entirely up to you, sir. The investigation is over.
Everything is over.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine with me, but that's not reason why I'm calling. I'm trying to call and see why the case is closed.
I just told you. It was investigated. The officers were exonerated. There's no merit to your claim, sir.
And who authorized it to how can I reopen it then?
You can't. It's done. It's over. I investigated and looked into every complaint you had, and there's no merit to it.
So you mean to tell me these officers, you went through every one of the files that I sent you, all of it?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't find nothing, no error?
No, sir.
You didn't find no illegalities?
No.
No ethical violations in your officers' work?
Sir, I don't know how clearer I can make it.
Because I don't think y'all understand what these people did to me. And y'all think I'm supposed to accept it?
They arrested you.
You think I'm supposed to accept it?
Sir, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I wonder why you didn't investigate this case properly.
Sir, you have a nice day. Bye.
Caught up.
They all spooked at me. They don't want to tell me the truth. Officer Hernandez and Roger Smith is some bad cricket cops, and they still covering for them. But like I said, I'm going to get me a lawyer this time around, and I'm going to see what the truth is. Follow me as I uncover this corruption. Case number 14C42686. My name is Matthew Mayfield Johnson. It's May 23rd, 2016, for the record. Thank you. Yeah, Gretchen, this is Matthew calling. I have just recently left you a message because, as you know, I've been fighting this hate crime with Douglas Hanson, right? And I wanted to share something very important with you because I don't know if they told you or I hadn't told you that I suffer from post-traumatic stress. And I have received a letter from the Oregon State Bar today dealing with Douglas Hanson, right? And I come to find out that Douglas Hanson and Lieutenant Russ Morris has been working together. So all the complaints and stuff that I filed through Lieutenant Russ Morris has actually been given to Douglas Hanson.
Oh, I know it's customary for law enforcement in the district attorney's office to exchange information when charges are filed. Are you speaking of something different?
I'm speaking of something different. When I got done going through the illegalities of being charged in the way that I was charged, I had taken upon myself to write up the officers involved, the lawyers that was involved, and what's been going on is they've been playing a psychological warfare game on me, where I thought that Lieutenant Russ Morris was with Internal Affairs, and what I found out is him and Douglas Hanson been quietly working under the table against me. So Douglas Hanson took all the evidence that I sent back and forth with Lieutenant Russ Morris, and now he's done retained himself an attorney to try to fix what he done wrong. Like, he trying to build a defense, with the information that I provided to Lieutenant Russ Morris, who I believe is not really Internal Affairs.
I see. Well, and then I wanted to explain, you might remember we talked last week, but there's one Internal Affairs sergeant. But then they get more inquiries than the one person can do. And so sometimes the Internal Affairs sergeant will delegate that investigation to someone in leadership in the police department. And so in this case, the work went to Lieutenant Morris. And so he did that work through the Internal Affairs process.
And the thing that's got me concerned with this Lieutenant Russ Morris guy is that I had made a phone call to him explaining to him that I needed somebody else looking at it solely because I know about him and Douglas Hanson's friendship. So it was a conflict of interest for them to be working together on my case. And Douglas Hanson and Russ Morris been feeding each other information, trying to route me and things like that, so my information won't get properly to the right people, and I got a whole bunch of information that's implicating them two in a collaboration of a cover-up, and it's not fair to me that nobody is willing to take the time to look at it. And when I was reading your emails, it said that I was in the right place, and if they don't come and help me in a manner that they were supposed to help me, then I could further get some type of help from you, and I'm sorry to keep on calling you about this issue, but it's my life that they playing with, and Douglas Hanson, he left the Marion County DA's office, and now he's working right where Lieutenant Russ Morris is at the city of Salem. It's a and it's really foul, because when I looked up his lawyer and researched it, the lawyer that he retained, Douglas Hanson, the way that he retained that lawyer is because he left the Marion County DA's office and he went to work for the supposed city of Salem, so that way he can get proper representation from them. I don't have that. My equal protection has been gone for a very long time. And now this man know that I know he broke all my constitutional rights and my marital rights and my human rights. He's been getting help, and I know he's been getting help because, like I said, I called Russ Morris, and Russ Morris is telling me to get back in contact with Internal Affairs, so they confusing me on what to do. And I'm fighting for my life because I got kids,
Right. Well, okay, I think I understand. I'd like to look into it a little bit and then call you back.
Please do, because it's very important. And like I said, I'm going to keep calling everybody every day. And the reason why this is going on is because Douglas Hanson corruption got me stuck in limbo at court proceedings, and it's assigned to this judge named Susan Tripp. But she said due to the potential liabilities that I got out there, she don't even want to see me. So my next question is, if every time I get arrested, they put in the paperwork to Susan Marine Tripp, and she refusing to see me. Even she herself, when I call her office and try to write her letters and show her proof, she rejects that information, and she sends me to some police officer.
And
Right, exactly, and like I said, I'm very thorough with the information that I get, and I like to show, my points to people. But for a very long time, I've been rerouted, and I've been giving information up to Russ Morris, and what Russ Morris have done. And I keep saying this because it's not that I'm making this up. It's the paper trail that I get that's showing the proof, and I don't, and I don't believe that Russ Morris has ever taken the time to look thoroughly through the information that I've sent him, And it's sad to me because he know what's going on. He know. And then in a interview that he had, he said that he exonerated the police officers that supposedly was under investigation. My thing is, who gave him the authority to do that? He ain't a judge.
Well, the authority is within the internal affairs process. And so when a person files a complaint with a department, internal affairs will look into the matter, and then they'll either exonerate or they'll agree or disagree with the allegations, and then if something is found to be true, then they'll take actions. Those actions might include disciplinary actions,
right,
or termination, or writing somebody up, or more training. If there was a misunderstanding in a procedure, it might lead to a conversation and some more training, and it kind of varies depending on the situation.
And I wrote.
That's basically how all that works.
And I wrote.
They looked into it.
Yes, and I wrote these officers up solely because they went and lied under oath. They stories ain't even correct. And not only that, it was only 2 officers that went to a jury on me. And that's what I was trying to tell this man. If it only took 2 officers to go get an indictment, a whole bunch, the world would be locked up.
And I remember that part of it. We at the city, we don't have any authority to address your point if they were lying under oath. The time to address that is during the court proceeding.
Okay.
And so we don't have any authority here to handle that part of it.
And I feel like they stopping me from making it to the appropriate courts solely because they won't let me see the trial judge that put me on the probation. They got me going to court annex, and each and every time I go there, there's a new judge on my case that don't know nothing about my case happening, and that's not fair to me.
Certainly. Do you have representation right now? Do you have a lawyer?
Yeah, but he don't never talk to me, and he came out of nowhere. I never filled out any paperwork saying that I was indigent or none of that. They just gave me some random private counsel because I got a conflict of interest with all public defenders of Marion County. So they give me these attorneys, and I stay in Portland, Oregon with no transportation to get all the way out there. So how me and my attorney is supposed to communicate? There's some real issues here, and nobody want to take the initiative to look it up. It's almost like I got to do something crazy, which I'm not going to do because I'm not guilty of the charges. I'm trying to go through the motions, and I haven't been getting help for over 2 years now.
One idea, I'm not an attorney. I can't give you legal advice. But one idea might be just for you to hire an attorney. Have you thought about doing that?
I can't. Every time I say 14C42686 on that computer, somewhere it's flagged that, the case is closed, they dealt with it, this, that, and the other, and it's been all lies for a very long time, and I'm getting really fed up with it,
Okay. All right, well, let me see what I can learn, and I'll call you back.
I will advise you this. If you really want to see the truth and make your own personal opinion, look up, everybody be on Facebook, look up my wife, Jessica Johnson, which they said was the victim, and she, her name is JESSICA JOHNSON. It's not hard to find, and you will see yourself.
Well, thank you. Let me see what I can learn, and I'll call you back.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You've been an angel.
Okay. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Jessica Johnson, and I was wondering if you could ever tell me if I was ever booked into your...
Hi, my name is Matthew Singer, and I was calling to try to get some information on my son's case.
Okay. What's the name?
His name is Matthew Mayfield Johnson, Jr.
You said Matthew was the first name?
Yes, I have a case number if you like, ma'am.
I can only use a SID number, case number, so it's going to help me.
A SID number? I can use a SID number. I have all the information you need.
Okay, go ahead with that.
1405 1429.
Okay, that number's not coming up. Are you calling to the state of Oregon?
Yes, I'm calling to the state of Oregon to try to figure out my son's criminal background and his charges, because he's been going really crazy and he's been trying to kill himself several times, and I'm wondering what's going on and what's causing him to do this. And he's been telling me that he's been faces some illegal charges down there in Marion County. And
what did you say his middle name was?
his middle name is Mayfield. It's same as mine, ma'am.
Okay, and is he in custody with us?
No.
What's his date of birth?
11/6/1984.
Okay. Well, he's not in custody at the jail. What information are you needing?
I'm trying to figure out what's his charges. He showed me a piece of paper which was a fake indictment is what he's been telling me, because he was forced out on bail for doing 22 days and he didn't see the bail on the indictment.
Okay, I'm not showing that he's been here since June of 2014 in our jail.
June 9th, right?
June 9th, he was released from us June 8th of 2014.
Which was a force-out agreement.
Correct, yes.
So then he went to fight a criminal case, and what my son has been telling me is that he's been fighting a criminal case on some charges he were forced out of your custody on.
Okay. Well, the charges that he was here on was unlawful delivery of oxycodone, promoting prostitution, unlawful possession of oxycodone, and compelling prostitution. And he hasn't been back since then, so I can transfer you to the court and see if he's gone to court, but he has not been in custody on any new charges or on those charges since that time.
When and can you tell me exactly when he was booked?